You know that feeling? You end a long, grueling day, your desk, you're totally wiped out, but you look at your to-do list and you've barely made a dent? It's so frustrating. But what if that feeling isn't about how hard you're working? What if it's about a hidden battle going on inside your head, a fight between perfectionism and actual, real productivity?
So let me ask you this. Are you working hard or are you working smart? Because feeling accomplished isn't about the hours you clock in. It's about the results you actually get out. And believe it or not, a really interesting guide has a kind of surprising take on how to finally bridge that gap.
So our guide for this whole thing is this amazing book by Takeshi Furukawa, and its main idea, well, it flips everything we think we know about hard work completely on its head. It argues that the most productive people, they're not the ones grinding 24/7. No way. They've mastered the art of strategically slacking off to save their energy for the moments that truly matter.
This is what he calls the results-first mindset. And look, it's not about being lazy, not at all. It's about being ruthlessly efficient. It's all about finding that critical 20% of your work that gives you 80% of the value, and then having the discipline to be just good enough on everything else. But to even get there, we first need to understand the enemy. So let's pull back the curtain on what's really holding us back, the perfectionist trap. This quote just reframes everything, doesn't it? We're so often taught that perfectionism is a good thing, a sign of high standards. But in the real world, the goal of your work isn't some flawless masterpiece. It's a result. And chasing that idea of perfection is usually the biggest thing standing in the way of just getting something done. And here is a massive, massive sigh of relief. If you've ever said to yourself, "Oh, I can't help it, I'm just a perfectionist," this book says that's just not true. It's not who you are, it's a thinking habit that you've picked up along the way. And you know the best part about habits? They can be broken and they can be replaced. Okay, so if it's just a habit, that means we can break it down, right? The author points out 3 main ways perfectionist thinking shows up. Let's see which one sounds, well, a little too familiar. So first up, you've got dichotomous thinking. This is the all-or-nothing trap. If something isn't a perfect 100, you see it as a total 0. Then there's excessive idealism. This is the person who spends like 3 hours choosing the perfect font for an internal memo. And last, the fear of disapproval, where you're so worried about what everyone else will think that you never actually hit send. Figuring out your personal brand of perfectionism is really the first step to beating it.
All right, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the antidote, the results-first way of thinking. The author uses this brilliant story. It's about the tennis player Kei Nishikori in a huge match against the world's #1. So Nishikori loses the second set, and he loses it badly, like 1-6. But here's the thing. He wasn't failing. He was being strategic. He basically threw a battle he knew he couldn't win, saved his energy, and then came back with full force to win the entire war. That is what thinking with results first looks like. This really highlights 2 totally different ways of seeing the world. The perfectionist, well, they wear the struggle, the long hours, like it's a badge of honor. Success for them is measured by how hard they worked. But the results-first thinker, they flip that completely. For them, success is getting the biggest possible result with the least amount of wasted time and energy. They're always on the hunt for a smarter, faster way to get things done.
All right, let's put these 2 mindsets head-to-head in the ring. Round 1, effort versus results.
So the perfectionist often falls right into this trap. They believe that effort itself is some kind of moral good. They'll even brag about working until 2 in the morning, not realizing that what they're really celebrating is their own inefficiency. This mindset keeps them stuck, always doing things the hard way because the struggle feels productive.
The results-first thinker, though, sees it totally differently. They believe that getting great results without a ton of painful effort, well, that's the real sign of skill. They're always asking themselves, how can I get this done with less wasted energy? And that simple question just opens the door to all kinds of innovation and smarter ways of working.
This right here is the core mental shift you need to make. Stop measuring your day by the sweat on your brow and start measuring it by the outcome. I'm telling you, that one change in perspective can totally revolutionize your entire approach to work. Okay, round 2 of our showdown, speed versus precision. Which one really scores the points?
You know this person. The perfectionist obsesses over every little detail. They'll spend an extra week on a report just to get the formatting perfect. But by the time they deliver it, the person waiting for it is just frustrated. Their reaction isn't, "Wow, this is perfect." It's, "Why couldn't I have had this a week ago when I needed it?"
The results-first thinker gets a powerful truth. A lot of the time, speed is a form of quality. Think about it. A quick, handwritten thank you note sent the same day can mean so much more than a perfectly typed one sent a week later. A fast response shows you're on it, and it respects the other person's time.
So here's the key takeaway. The value of your work isn't set in stone. An 80% solution delivered today is almost always worth more than a 100% perfect solution delivered next month.
And for the final round, how do these two mindsets handle the one thing that can scare the heck out of us? The deadline.
If you give a perfectionist a ton of time, you might think you're doing them a favor, but you're not. They will just expand a work to fill that extra time, usually by adding unnecessary steps, doing way too much research, and polishing things that just don't matter.
This whole thing actually has a name. It's called Parkinson's Law. It's a famous productivity principle that perfectly describes this tendency. If you give yourself a week to do a 2-hour task, it will somehow, magically, take you the entire week to finish.
But the results-first thinker, they actually use this law to their advantage. They understand that a tight deadline isn't a threat, it's a tool. It forces you to focus, it sparks creativity, and it gives you permission to just ruthlessly cut out everything that's non-essential. It makes you find the most direct path to done.
Okay, so let's make this real. Right now. I don't want you to try and change your entire life tomorrow. Just look at your to-do list for today. What's one thing you've been putting off because you want to do it perfectly? Now, ask yourself, how can I get an 80% good enough version of that done right now? Your journey to smarter work starts with that one beautifully imperfect step.